Hi everyone. Well, it's unusual for me to be wishing you a happy St. Patrick's Day from the church's Cobra meeting. That's where we're at. But here we are, and I can assure you, of course, we're all well as senior leaders in respecting the government's guidelines to keep us safe and to keep others safe as well. Now, due to the current health climate, this is our first media communication for the Hope family community in the church. And by now, of course, you're more than aware of the issues surrounding the whole spread of coronavirus or COVID-19. You know, in over 30 years of full-time ministry and church life, as someone who has recently received a bus pass, watch it, Aaron, I've never observed this kind of panic related to potential spread of an illness before. But here we are in a pandemic which seems to instill great fear and worry among millions of people, not only at local level, but of course throughout the entire country and the world. But is there anything else you and I can do, we can do as a church in response to this outbreak as the Church of Jesus Christ? Or do we shrink back in fear, being consumed by anxiety, or do we blank out the reality of our present circumstances? Either way, both will affect the resilience which of course is to be found in God, and that will suppress our faith and trust in Him to bring us through this particular situation. You know, the psalmist says in Psalm 66, I'm reminded that when we pass through the fire and the water, God brings us to a place of abundance. Scripture is very clear that God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And that's because believers like you and I, who are rooted and grounded in God, the God of creation alone, that our trust in Him should be in Him alone, and He is our fortress and our foundation of faith. Now today, 17th of March, many of the churches in this nation, like us, have been praying and fasting for God's miraculous intervention. We've been celebrating today the life of St. Patrick. Patrick was a missionary, an apostle to Ireland. In fact, he's credited with bringing a spiritual awakening to this island. And Patrick was one who heard and followed the call of God in order to bring life to others. And today, more than ever, we need another spiritual awakening. And I'm sure you agree with me, across this island. Not only across this island, but of course throughout the nations of the world. And you know, the only answer, of course, to our situation is found not in an antidote, but in a person whose name is Jesus Christ. The Son of God, of course, the living God, who hung on a cross, He shed His precious blood in order, of course, to become that spiritual antidote for our sin problem that we have, that might be released to all mankind. See, the Bible reminds us in Hebrews 9 that without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins. And so we, of course, we all like to be in control. Yet even with technological and scientific advancement in times like these, we as humankind are confronted with our frailty and our weakness, and we actually need to recognize our dependency on a God who so loved the world that He gave His only Son in order to liberate us from the bondage of fear and sin, no matter what the circumstance. So as followers of Jesus, we behave differently from the world in its present distress. When people are in fear, people are in panic, communities go into a survival mode, where its default position is every man for himself, as we've seen, of course, with some people raiding shelves and stuff. Thank God, in the midst of all that, there's been people, of course, who have shown the love of God through those situations and have shown compassion for others. But in this world, you and I, as Christians, as believers, as followers, we're to shine as bright lights who have the same attitude as Jesus, as Philippians 2 reminds us, that attitude towards other individuals. Followers of Jesus, of course, are to love their neighbour. And some practical ways, of course, in which we can behave differently to others, particularly in their time of anxiety, is by taking the opportunity that we have now to show the love of God through helping the elderly and most vulnerable to have enough food and toiletries and care. So in order to keep our church, and it's a wonderful church family that we have here in Hope International, in order to keep them connected, we're meeting tonight as a Cobra meeting as senior leaders in order to arrange an online worship service for Sundays as well as midweek communications to you. So don't forget to keep an eye on our Facebook page. And may God bless you, keep you safe, and may He bless you real good. Amen. Keep in touch. Keep looking at the Facebook page on a regular basis. May God bless you. Bye.